I was wondering when the nonsense would start. We're only about 3 months away from the midterm elections, and I thought there was a big lack of fake news coming out designed to smear people on the right. But here it is. You may have heard the story, but here's the latest update from the New York Post. Turning Point USA issues cease and desist to ABC News over defamatory statements on The View. Whoopi Goldberg claimed that neo-Nazis were at the event and then clarified, well, not inside, but like mixed with the people. Still a lie. And we also have this story from Rolling Stone because it's all linked together. Why won't Florida Governor Ron DeSantis denounce his neo-Nazi supporters? Because he doesn't have any? Because he opposes boycott, divest, and sanction, the leftist anti-Israel movement? He's pro-Israel? The one big concern people have brought up about DeSantis is that he had that opposition to BDS, which made people fear he was going to be anti-free speech. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole Israel thing. The point is, the dude clearly doesn't have neo-Nazi supporters, but here's what happened. At a Turning Point USA event, for those that aren't familiar, this is an organization for college and high school kids, and they talk about conservative values, things like that. They have these big rallies. At one of these events recently, a group of individuals with DeSantis flag and a swastika flag were outside the event. These people clearly don't support Ron DeSantis because it would make no sense to do so. It's very obviously a hoax. In fact, my understanding is that the Nazi flag was freshly unfolded. So it was like a brand new flag someone got somewhere. I don't know who makes those things. And it's like, guys, you got to iron your flags before you cut when they're brand new and you bring them out. But it's clearly a hoax. People at Turning Point USA came out and heckled them and told them to get out because nobody supports this. Here's what I think. I think Whoopi Goldberg is, I would argue, in my view, actual malice. Now, I understand you got to get some hard evidence for it, but come on. No one believes this stuff. Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. She thought Jill Biden was an actual doctor. You see that one? She's like, I think Jill Biden should be Surgeon General because she's an amazing doctor. And they're like, no, she's a teacher. And she has like some pseudo PhD. It's not even a real PhD. It's like an honorary title. And she went, oh, I thought she was a doctor. Okay, maybe Whoopi Goldberg she's lost it. But it's really crazy to me to see people like, what happened to these people? Did they collectively lose IQ points over the past 10 or 20 years? Maybe they never had them to begin with. So Whoopi Goldberg claims these people are in the event. Now Turning Point USA has issued a cease and desist. Sue them. Hashtag Sue the View was trending on Twitter. This is where we go. This is where we're going, baby. A lot of people were saying that they were going to go after Ron DeSantis in much the same way they went for Trump. Well, of course that's true, but it's not going to stick in the same way. This is an absurd thing. Absurd. Come on. Let me slow down and just say to the Democrats, to the left, to the View, too heavy-handed. Just too heavy-handed, guys. What you need to do to make it more reasonable is like try the Proud Boys, right? Try sending Proud Boys to TPUSA. Do that hoax. Because it's actually more reasonable. I mean, I'm sure there are many people who go to the TPUSA events who are associated with or are Proud Boys. And then you can try and go after them that way and be like, oh, look, January 6th. This, a little too heavy-handed. Now, look, the Proud Boy thing probably wouldn't work on conservatives either. But you could at least try to confuse liberals with your smears and your fake news. You're going to go to a regular person and say, did you see the group of people with swastikas outside the Ron DeSantis event? And they're going to go, seriously, come on. You mean, come on, No. Here's a story from the New York Post. Actually, before we read that, I got to shout out a sponsor, and that is you guys, literally you, at timcast.com. We get a lot of people who want us to read ads on these spots, and I'm just like, dude, guys, go to timcast.com, sign up, and watch our new shows, Tales from the Inverted World. Let me see if I can play this clip here. It's an amazing clip.
Upon orders of evacuation, the Confederates were also commanded to set fire to warehouses filled with tobacco, the smoke twisting into the night sky. They dumped liquor into the streets to keep people from getting wildly drunk as the enemy approached. But men scooped up the spirits into their hats and drank in abundance below the fires. Amongst those rising fires, the dark silhouettes of church steeples looked like the hats of witches crouching in flames.
Sign up at timcast.com if you want to support our work directly. I just figure instead of shouting out other companies, I'll just shout out, we got new shows. We are making things. And with your support, we are going to be expanding the culture. And I'll tell you exactly why. This all bleeds together, right? You may be saying, Tim, Tales from the Inverted World, it's cool. You know, it's whatever, though. It's not political. That's the point. That's on purpose. Let me explain. The View, ABC News, this is the game they play. They use entertainment, get you on their network, and then lie to your face like this. We got to play that game. Or I should just say, that's the tactic for winning. Now, I know a lot of people who are deeply entrenched in politics, like I am, would prefer it if we used our resources at timcast.com to just make overtly political shows, hire more cultural commentators. No. That's not the way to win. If you want to support our work in countering this, this is part of the strategy. I'll tell you why. Who watches Timcast? It is predominantly 25 to 54-year-old males. And then we do have a decent number of older and 18 to 24-year-old males, but predominantly male. It's like 80% dudes. Well, these true crime, paranormal, mystery stuff heavily skew female. We're trying to make content that attracts people in general so that we can then expose them to a culture that rejects the lies. We want their IQ points to be increasing, not decreasing. If you support the mission of what we're doing with our shows, become a member at timcast.com. Here's the news from the New York Post. Turning Point USA issued a scathing cease and desist letter to ABC News on Tuesday, calling for the Disney-owned company to retract the defamatory statements made earlier this week on The View or face legal action. The false statements of fact intentionally made during The View's July 25th segment were unquestionably harmful to TPUSA's reputation and brought the organization and its student affiliates into disrepute with the public, potential donors, and current and future business partners, posing a significant financial loss to the organization. Well, I just got to say this, guys. I would love to donate to TPUSA, but not if they're Nazis. You know, I was even considering giving a large sum of money to TPUSA to support their efforts. But now that I'm hearing this from The View, maybe I'm actually half kidding. The idea is, the reason they're saying potential donors, current, future business partners posing a significant financial loss is that a lawsuit requires standing and injury. And they certainly have standing. They were the ones defamed, but they need injury. And that's insane to me because injury exists, but it exists. But how do you prove it? We know the smears are intended to harm the organization, but is anyone actually going to come out and say, I was writing a $1 million check to the organization, and as soon as I saw them, I saw this story, I tore it up. No one's going to admit that. That's the problem with defamation, but that's why they're saying it. Fox News Digital has obtained the letter addressed to ABC News's New York bureau chief Joshua Hoyos and ABC Assistant Chief Counsel Ian Rosenberg, which accuses The View of making false, derogatory, and defamatory statements about its recent Student Action Summit. ABC News did not immediately respond to a request for comment. On Monday, the daytime Gabfest kicked off its program discussing the TPUSA Action Summit that occurred last week in Tampa, Florida. The View co-host mocked the elaborate event for taking a page from WWE simply because of special effects, inaccurately portrayed the group as being officially tied to the GOP, and Joy Behar criticized the group because of neo-Nazi protesters were outside the venue. Let me just show you. We have this from Turning Point USA. This is from their show.
Okay, so you have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. The conservative group.
Sonny normally does this, but
I know.
Yes.
This is our knockoff lawyer.
Okay.
The conservative group, Turning Point USA, has condemned the group of neo-Nazis and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
No, that's a lie. They weren't let in. They were explicitly barred entry, and they were heckled by attendees.
So you are complicit. We'll be right back.
Lying. And then here's what happened. This is amazing. TPUSA says, while they were forced by their legal department to correct 2 of these misrepresentations live on air, Whoopi continued to insist that Turning Point USA somehow welcomed Nazis to their event, metaphorically.
I'll make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing.
No, they didn't. They heckled them, mocked them, and told them to get lost.
So
that is a false statement of fact. Let me just show that again.
Protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Oh, nice try with the weasel words, Whoopi. So when you heckle them and say, get out, that's embracing? Yeah, okay.
No, they were not in the building.
They felt
No, but you know what?
Okay.
You know what? If the so-called Antifa, who are anti-fascist, that's what Antifa stands for, would go there and protest, then Antifa would get a bad reputation. That's why when I hear that Antifa is
right, but that's not. But let me just make sure that everybody, because misunderstanding what people say is very big.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we want to make sure I know they were not in the building, but they were in the mix of people at the thing.
You know how bad.
Oh, just talk about the absolute weaseling. In the mix. They were in the mix. No, they were outside by themselves. There was no mix of people. They were heckled. You know what? Sue them, Turning Point. Please, just sue them. They doubled down. They and I'll say this. The fact that Whoopi Goldberg came out and said, clarification, I think we're going to see actual malice here. I think we might actually see it because it looks like the producers knew it wasn't true, instructed her to correct, and she did not. They were embraced, I felt. Call them out. She then said Ron DeSantis did nothing, but failed to mention that the Republican governor attended the event the day before neo-Nazis appeared. You see, it's a dirty, dirty trick. This is why culture is everything. Cultural enforcement, I talk about it. How do you deal with this level of depravity? Ignorance, ineptitude, man. Well, I tell you this. I look at some of these big right-wing channels, conservative channels, anti-establishment channels, hyper-focused, inflammatory. And I'm just like, dude, the reason this works is because The View is not overtly a political show. They are a political show. But what I mean is people watch The View. It's daytime TV. They watch this. They watch ABC because ABC has shows. And then they peddle this garbage. We need to get people to stop watching this. How do you do it? Well, I tell you, my friends, if I go to a regular person and say, The View is lying to you, stop watching them, watch my show. I talk politics too. They're going to be like, get out of here. Trump and MAGA and Nazi. And they're going to say, no. What if we do ads for like a sitcom? Nothing overtly political, but we do make jokes that poke at things like this. That's the idea. Every joke has its truth. What about Tales from the Inverted World? Get people off these platforms onto our platforms. That's the plan. That's the strategy. And it's not about indoctrination. It's about just stopping this. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you don't like Ron DeSantis. Criticize the man, please. But don't fall for this. They say later on in the program, The View read an on-air legal disclaimer to inform viewers that Turning Point USA condemned the neo-Nazi protesters who had nothing to do with the organization. But you let them in. You knew who they were. There they go. The honor disclaimers didn't satisfy TPUSA, whose in-house counsel, Veronica Peterson. Yeah, because Whoopi Goldberg doubled down. The View hosts intentionally and falsely associated TPUSA with neo-Nazi protesters outside the event, placing TPUSA in denigrating and false light and negatively impacting its public perception. Such action will not be tolerated. Specifically, The View hosts insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let neo-Nazis in to its SAS event, metaphorically embraced them, and that neo-Nazis were in the mix of people. The assertion that TPUSA is complicit or affiliated in any way with the neo-Nazi protesters outside the event is outlandish, false, defamatory, and disgraceful. Even after Ms. Haynes reluctantly read the TPUSA statement that it condemns the group of neo-Nazis and that the group had nothing to do with TPUSA or its student attendees, Ms. Goldberg continues the false tirade against TPUSA, asserting that somehow the organization and its attendees were complicit and or associated with the outside protest. Peterson then added, to be abundantly clear, TPUSA aggressively and completely condemns the ideologies of neo-Nazism and has zero connection to the protesters outside the event. Since these individuals were located on public property, TPUSA security attempted to, but was not permitted to remove them. The letter also explained, TPUSA is a tax-exempt public charity under the IRS code 501c3 and is not affiliated with the GOP. In cases where the communication is of such a nature that the court can presume as a matter of law that the communication will tend to degrade or disgrace the party defamed. Special damages are presumed. The letter said, therefore, TPUSA demands that ABC immediately cease and desist from further unlawfully defaming TPUSA, retract the defamatory statements identified above, and issue a public statement apologizing for and correcting the above defamatory and false statements. Should ABC decide not to comply with the demands above, TPUSA is prepared to promptly take all steps necessary to protect its rights, including pursuing all available legal remedies, seeking monetary and non-monetary damages, injunctive relief, and attorneys' fees and costs, the letter said. This year's conference in Tampa marked TPUSA's 8th Student Action Summit. Prior to the event, TPUSA promised an amazing celebration of self-expression, self-reliance, and self-acceptance. It's the dirty game they play. It's such an obvious hoax. I don't know who perpetrated the hoax, but it's so obvious. Now they're running all these stories. Of course. Why won't Ron DeSantis denounce his neo-Nazi supporters? Oh, yeah. Senator Rick Scott was the only featured speaker at Turning Point USA's conference who openly condemned the display of swastikas. It happened before it happened after he was there. Are you nuts? Nikki Fried. Oh, man, these people are just evil, evil people. You know, either you are dumb as a box of rocks or you're just evil. Just plain evil. It's manipulation. We try to have events. You know, I do. We're planning some events. We don't care for these people. We oppose racism. In fact, I held an event called Ending Violence, Authoritarianism, and Racism. And we had a collection of speakers from libertarian, progressive to conservative. And what did the media do? This is the game they play. Antifa shows up and says, we condemn the racists. And then these news outlets in Philly said the event has been dubbed racist by protesters and supporting all this garbage. And I'm like, the event is literally in opposition to those things. The event was specifically and literally meant to reject those things. And the media still comes out and just says they're accused of being racist. Well, you know what? Fine. I hope the people who read that story, what was it, from the Philadelphia Inquirer or something like that, will be confused like, huh? It says, and the event is called Ending Racism, and they're accused of being racist? Well, that makes little to no sense. The headline speaker was a guy who de-radicalized Klan members. So maybe these lunatics walked into the trap. Yeah, we want to have events because we oppose racism. And then you come out and claim it's racist to oppose racism. Thanks for doing as such. And we'll keep doing that. We'll keep having our headline speakers be the people calling out racism. And Daryl Davis believes in critical race theory even. Isn't that amazing? The psychotic games they play. Mr. DeSantis condemned these Nazis. No. You see the game they play? They want Ron DeSantis to come out and say, we condemn these Nazis. Why? Then they can say, did you hear that? Ron DeSantis admits his supporters are Nazis. You know, it's a dirty, evil game that the left, the Democrats, and the establishment play. They treat you like garbage. They want to keep you in the dark. But you know what? I'm not convinced people believe this. Nikki Fried, okay, she gets it. She knows what she's doing. They know it's not true. And I got to say this. Are you really going to win over people who would fall for something like this? I don't know. What we got to do is we got to make videos like this all day, every day. Okay, you got to share videos like this. You got to share the story, you know, calling them out and proving they're lying. But I'll tell you, this is why, you know, what we do over at timcast.com is not overtly political, because we know how they get away with this stuff. They get away with it because they make shows like The Boys, right? Fascinating. Or The Orville. Good show. Good shows, both of them. But you know what? They slip in these ideas to reinforce their worldview. And maybe it may not be intentional. So The Boys, for instance, Trump's clearly the bad guy. In the show The Boys, Homelander is clearly Trump. He has supporters, and they are clearly the bad guys. They lie about everything. The framing is they're lying, but in the show, they say, see, it's true. They are lying, right? So the Homelander character will be like, you know, this character did this thing. And then the main characters go, yo, they're lying about that. In the show, they can show you that Homelander is the villain. In real life, they are the one lying about it. smearing Ron DeSantis, claiming he has anything to do with this, and they should condemn them because they're trying to associate him with this group. That's the trick. They are literally lying, and then they make shows that frame it as though it's true that the other side is the liar. Okay, well, I'll play that game. I will play that game, but not in the same way. I'm not going to make shows that allude to Trump or Democrats. No, that's just so stupid. No, we're going to make fun entertainment that gets away from politics. That way, you, the viewer, and regular normal people will just watch a show about murder mysteries and spooky ghost stories and a sitcom and comedy specials. And we're not going to bludgeon them over the head with politics. But our news division and shows like Timcast IRL will cut through the noise. Let's say there's a regular person who doesn't pay attention to this and doesn't know anything about it. They turn on ABC to watch whatever show. Then they leave the TV on and The View comes on and The View lies. And they hear that. See, that's how these people get influenced into these lies. They believe it. Let's say we create a network, a subscription service that's not woke. We're not going to make anti-woke shows overtly. Maybe a little bit, but not really. We're going to make regular shows. And then people are going to watch it. And they're going to watch the news and go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Because we want to create a cultural sphere of influence that is just chill. Classically liberal, traditionally liberal, fairly libertarian, all that stuff. But you know what? None of that really matters. What matters is the truth. You're going to get good shows and the truth. We have to cut through the noise and we have to build something in opposition to what ABC is. Now, I'll tell you who watches The View, presumably middle-aged suburban women. And they vote against Trump. How do we get middle-aged suburban women to break out of that cult? Well, I'll tell you one thing that middle-aged suburban women also like: true crime. Look, everything we're doing at Timcast is strategic. We have a big plan for why we chose to do the shows that we do. First and foremost, I also love ghost stories, murder mysteries, true crime stuff as well. And so we went through what was effective, what would satisfy our goals, and what we liked. So some people liked the old vlog, behind the scenes stuff at the castle. We were always intending to do silly bits and action sports. The action sports is going to be its own new show, and Cast Castle is going to be a sitcom based on the behind the scenes at the castle. And we're going to be bringing all of your favorite guests and personalities to be involved in it. Why? Because it's fun. Because we really want to do it. You know, Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes, we're always writing jokes when he's here. We're always joking. And I'm like, it would be hilarious to do a bit where we do that. We want to do it. The YouTube channel will be bits, short clips and funny skits involving people you like. And we're going to make it so that people will watch a clip and it's funny. It's Zuby. People watch a clip, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's funny. Alex Jones. It's funny. Because then we're going to create a fun, funny space. And then on Timcast, it's going to be full 20 to 30-minute episodes. A comedy show based on what goes on here. So it's like The Office or 30 Rock meets The Culture War, something to that effect. We did several episodes. The response was tremendous. I know not a lot of people like it. Not everybody likes everything, but we're refining it. And we're going to be launching it as a full show probably in the next week or two. Stick around for that. That's how we combat all of this. We create a sphere of influence and we create entertainment. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.